Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Game of Thrones podcast. I am your host, Carmine of Red Team Review, and I'm joined here once again by the man in the high castle himself, Preston Jacobs. Preston?
Make America great again.
Damn straight.
It was America was nice. You know, we had 70 years without Nazis. So
Jesus Christ. Are you trying to make me lose subscribers? God damn. So guys, welcome to episode 3 of the podcast. This week we'll be discussing the season 7 trailer, as well as some other small tidbits regarding the new season, and we'll also be talking about Sansa's potential storyline in season 6. As always, be sure to check us out on iTunes and SoundCloud, and be sure to leave your comments and questions below, and we might discuss it in the after show episode 3, which will also be on my channel. Okay, so Preston, would you like to take some questions before we get into the trailer?
I love the questions.
Good, because the first question here is from Lauren Peterson, and she asks us both, if you could pick one character from the book that's currently not in the show to appear in the next season of Game of Thrones, who would you pick? It would not really need to make sense to the current plot, it would just need to be someone who you wish you could have gotten some screen time with. I'll let you go first.
Well, that would be definitely Sorella Sand. I mean, that's the character I'd want to see most in the book, and it's the character I'd most want to see in the show. I mean, she'd be perfect because the Sam plot, and let's be honest, is kind of boring and doesn't have any direction. And if you introduced a character like Sorella Sand, who is so fascinating and mysterious with this, incredible backstory and connection to all, Oberyn, and has schemes going on. I mean, she would add so much excitement.
You just want to see those glass candles.
I mean, no, it's not just that. I mean, if you think about Oberyn Martell and how interesting Oberyn Martell is, the Sand Snakes each take a piece of him. And so you have Tyene has the poisoning aspect of him, and Obara has the fighting aspect of him. Lady Nym has kind of the gender bending and perhaps diplomatic aspect of him. And then Sorella has frankly, the interesting stuff. She has the history and the travel and more gender bending as well. And she can probably fight as well. So in a sense, she's more Oberyn than the rest of them. And so she's got the glass candle and the connection to Marwyn, and, any sort of Dornish master plan is going to go through her. So, we've been waiting for a Sam chapter since, 2005, since A Feast for Crows came out. We haven't had one. I mean, I've been, dying to know what's going on with Sam. So Sorella is really who I want to see in the book. It's who I want to see in the show. Hands down, she's the character I'd want to see.
I would probably have one character that we could also introduce, and it would not affect the storyline. They could have introduced this guy back in season 4, and it wouldn't affect anything. Is Strong Belwaz. Strong Belwaz, I feel it. Am I saying his name right? Strong Belwaz?
I mean, I have no opinion on pronunciation, but I say Strong Belwas, yeah.
Strong Belwaz is one of, Dany's, I want to call him a bodyguard. He's kind of like one of those guys Dany has who's, there, and, he's a good fighter and all that. We meet him, we should have met him with Barristan Selmy. And I feel as though if you introduce Strong Belwaz, he can still be there. I know tons of fat guys who would just love to be there. Wouldn't take any pay from Game of Thrones. I mean, he could be integrated very easily, and he should have been. You don't even have to give him speaking roles. He's just that guy in the back. He's the Hodor of Dany's group, and he could still be implemented even now. And I say him because there's a lot of characters that really should have introduced several seasons back, like Victarion and Euron. I think should have been introduced in season 5. Quentin.
I mean, there's so much time getting killed in season 5 that they could have easily had the Ironborn plot. But, I mean, or at least I would have had it as the finale of the season, have the Kingsmoot as the last thing. But Strong Belwas is a really good choice because Slaver's Bay really didn't have any comic relief. It was very, dour. They tried to have Dario be funny, and he did an okay job. I'm not saying he didn't, but
he can only do so much.
Right. He had a huge thing to put on his shoulders. He was supposed to be the voice of reason for Dany. He was supposed to be the romantic interest, and he was supposed to be the comic relief. It was way too much for the one character to hold. I think he did a great job. I mean, of anyone in that, I think he was the best actor of the Slaver's Bay plotline, and the most fun to watch. I mean, we all kind of didn't like him at first because he wasn't the same actor and it was a little distracting. But if he was a better actor than
the first guy
from the guy from Deadpool,
Mm-hmm.
And he was likable, and in the end he really grew on me. And it's sad that he's gone because he's actually probably my favorite character from Slaver's Bay now. But Strong Belwas would have had that other role. You would have said, I'd like to get back to Slaver's Bay and see Strong Belwas, somebody that's funny and enjoyable to watch.
Not only that, but I honestly really, really, really thought that Daria was going to be the one behind sending the Sons of the Harpy out there to kill people. I really fucking thought that was going to be a really good twist, that Daria was really behind it the whole time, and he betrayed her because he lost, not interest, but he lost faith in the cause.
Yeah. And instead we find out it was Jack and Hagar.
What?
I mean, because it was no one.
Oh. I was about to say, what show are you watching?
The Harpy was no one, or they just dropped the plot. Yeah.
All right. The second question is aimed at me, and this person says, if you're a Baratheon man, you shouldn't want Dany to take Storm's End. Like, I've said this before to you, I think Dany taking Storm's End in Season 7 would be way better and more poetic than taking Dragonstone, mainly because Robert Baratheon took her family castle and her family's lands, and she comes and takes his. Not only that, but if we're really going to replace fake Aegon with Dany and like combine the two storylines, it would make more sense for Dany to take Storm's End, in my opinion. Because as soon as she takes Storm's End, she's surrounded by Dorne and the Tyrells.
I mean, I agree that it's... I like her taking Storm's End. I will say that in the show, she doesn't need it as much as Aegon does. Aegon needs a big win to show that he's legitimate, that he's a real threat, and so that people will rally to him. And, everyone will go, oh my God, he took Storm's End. No one's ever taken Storm's End. Maybe he's the real deal. Dany doesn't need that because she has such a huge army, unlike Aegon, who only has...
Well, Dany's also... They're also trying to mimic Dany with her ancestor, the first Aegon Targaryen, who conquered the Seven Kingdoms with 3 dragons and his sister wives. They're trying to mimic that. And I guess another really cool thing I kind of want to talk about real quick, because we're talking about the Baratheons and Storm's End. In Season 1, my favorite Season 1, there's
everyone's favorite season, yes.
In Season 1...
Dog's favorite season. Everyone.
There's a scene between Robert and Cersei, which I really love. It's my favorite scene, one of my favorites in Season 1, where Robert and Cersei are just sitting down there talking.
Let me guess, it's the extra one, the extra scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was like, I knew it, because that is a good scene.
It is. There's one thing that Robert says to Cersei, and he goes, he says something along the lines of, the Dothraki, it'd be foolish to take on the Dothraki in the field. And the final shot in the Season 7 trailer, we're fucking seeing the Dothraki in the field with a goddamn dragon above them. I love that. And what's funny, too? Robert says it to Cersei. He said it to Cersei. Oh, we would be a fool to beat the Dothraki in an open field. And she's going to meet, I know she is, she's going to meet them in an open field.
I mean, there's no reason to have a pitched battle when you have castles. I mean, I'm not sure why anyone would meet him in the field. I said this in one of my videos, the argument of how could anyone stand a chance against Dany, and I would say, well, the one advantage that Cersei has is she has the castles. She has
high walls.
These things high walls, and the Dothraki don't know how to do siege warfare. Like, they might be idiots enough to, like, just try to storm the castle, and then they'll have a bunch of boiling oil, poured on them, and then they're SOL. So I mean, that's the advantage. I don't know why anyone would meet Dothraki in the
Well,
field. That seems really.
in the same scene with Robert and Cersei, Robert does say how if Viserys Targaryen, or the Dothraki for that matter, come over and we all hide in the castles, he actually prepared for this. That's why I love Robert. He said how the Dothraki, how long will the people stand behind their absentee king while we're up in these castles, and the Dothraki are going all over the place, pillaging and raping all these people. But Dany wouldn't allow that? I mean, can she really stop it?
I mean, it's a weird, it's another, dropped plot, because obviously Dany's whole problem with the Dothraki was the fact that they raped and pillaged, and she wanted them to stop, and then it created a power struggle because Drogo kind of, did what she said, and everyone else kind of all of a sudden questioned Drogo. So you'd think if she did the same thing, people would say, what? Like, raping and pillaging? Like, this has been our way for forever. Like, that's the whole point of war. Like, why else would I do war? So, I mean, I guess maybe they see her not burned to death with fire, and they see some dragons, and they say, okay, I guess I'm not going to rape and pillage.
I guess we're just going to listen. The stallion who mounts the world, is technically mounting the world.
I mean, I'm also going to get over seasickness and other things. But
get on those wooden horses.
Yeah, that even though my religion for my entire life has told us that this is poison water, but you get beyond all of that. Okay, all right. So they have to meet him in the field, because if they don't, then the people will turn against Cersei. Okay, all right. I could see the logic.
Well, supposedly what I heard is, I don't know if this is true or not, I don't know if this is part of the leaks, I don't remember reading this, but supposedly Jaime's army is coming back from conquering the Tyrells, and they get ambushed. So that would make more sense.
Huh. They conquered the Tyrells? And the Tyrells, powerful group.
I know, but
they took Highgarden? Wow, that's a bigger victory than the Lannisters ever had in the history of the show, right? I mean that would be interesting. That'd be really interesting.
That's what I heard. Another major complaint people have is that the Unsullied have never been used how they're supposed to be used, because I believe it was either the season 3. I think it was the season 3 Blu-ray extras where Jorah Mormont tells the history of the Unsullied and how the Unsullied are really good fighting in, I hope I'm saying this word right, Phalanx? You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Like Spartan way of fighting where they're like together with the shields and the spears.
Oh, right. I mean, I would just say, or, I said it before, like pitched battles. Like that's when people like go out in a planned field and fight each other, strategically versus, kind of more spontaneous warfare that we've evolved into. But yeah, I mean, they wouldn't know how to storm a castle. They wouldn't know how to, they wouldn't know how to fight knights. I mean, they're wearing leather armor. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of reasons why they don't have testosterone. There's a lot of reasons that the Unsullied would be bad fighters. I admit.
Which is why they're good as guards. They're good to guard castles. They're good to guard the streets, but they're not good. Like, because in that Blu-ray extra, it did say how the Unsullied were called on to protect Meereen, and they stood in front of the Meereenese opening where we saw Dario fight that guy on the horse, and the Dothraki, went in there, tried to charge, failed, tried again, failed, kept trying, kept failing, because they held their ground. I don't think I would use Unsullied in open warfare, but we do see them try to attack what looks like some random castle. Now, I'm thinking it's either Casterly Rock or some Lannister-occupied castle, because those soldiers the Unsullied were fighting, they didn't look like Lannister soldiers. They with the cape and all that. They look like, I want to say, retainers?
But they were wearing red, right?
They were wearing red, but like a weird kind of like armor. Like they honestly look like retainers, like castle retainers, guys who just guard the castle. They're not professional soldiers.
Right.
So
Oh yeah, castle guards instead. That yeah, I can see that because they were definitely different than the military people that we see later marching in lockstep. You know.
hmm
So yeah, they might be castle guards or something, but it was definitely a Lannister holding because there was a Lannister lion over a door or something.
it would make sense for it to be Casterly Rock because Tyrion does kind of he knows the place very well. Don't we find out later that in the books that he was in charge of cleaning the sewers?
I mean, if so, before all the Unsullied run in, there is already a Lannister guard dead on the ground. So maybe, and I mean, if it's not an error, maybe some people snuck into the sewers just like they did with Marine and took Casterly Rock in the same way. So I mean, maybe they took it that way.
Well, we do see like someone like Dany on the map knocking over a Lannister lion marker,
Yeah.
which means maybe they took some kind of castle. Who knows? But we're getting really off topic here. We're getting off topic.
Right.
We always do that. I do apologize, everybody. We like talking about this stuff. But the only reason I want her to take Storm's End is because I want to see all the fucking castles. I want to see. We saw River Run. We saw the Vale.
What are they? The what was Robert Baratheon's term for having sex with a woman from each kingdom?
Making the 8.
Making the 7, making the 8.
Something like that, or
Yeah,
making
so
the
you
9.
You want to make the 7, make the 8, make the 9, or whatever with the castles.
Yes, that is basically
yeah.
what I want to. You're making me sound like such a pervert. That's basically what I want. I want to see because we never saw many people in this show think we've seen the Martell Castle. The Water Gardens are not the Martell Castle. The Sunspear is the Martell Castle. We've never seen Sunspear. We've never seen Highgarden, which is supposed to be really beautiful.
It's true, and even in the beginning of the show, they don't call it Sunspear. They call it Dorne. They it could go down and then say Water Gardens, but no, it says Dorne.
It says just Dorne. It's just the whole. Oh, that's so fun. I forgot about that in the opening. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By the way, what are they gonna do with the opening now that they're not going across the narrow sea? Like, are they gonna spin around and go down south, or I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right?
I got you.
The map starts in King's Landing, and then it usually heads north to the Wall, and then as the music changes to violins, they cross the narrow sea, usually either by spinning or going sideways, right? And then they do the Essos cities, and then sometimes they come back for Dorne, but now there's no Essos cities, so
That's right. Arya, Dany.
they're gonna hit the Wall, and then I imagine they'll spin and then all of a sudden head south to Dorne or something.
Whatever, dude. I just want more fucking castles. Come on, like Casterly Rock. I want Casterly Rock. I want what's that stupid place? The Greyjoy
Highgarden?
shit. Pike. I want Pike again. Like I want all these places. I'm a history buff. I really want to know more about the history of like a lot of these things. I want to see more castles and stuff like that because I really do like the aesthetics. I really do. But
one of them's gonna be Old Town. Maybe they'll spin and they'll go Old Town.
Oh yeah.
Old Town.
Well, they're gonna show like Dany, like they're gonna show Dragonstone again, and we're gonna see like Dany's sigil there. So.
Right. I mean that makes. I mean they'll do King's Landing, Dragonstone, and then up to Winterfell and up to the Wall, and then the question is where after that. I guess maybe if Jaime is taking Highgarden, they'll spin and go Highgarden, Old Town, Dorne, and then get all the locations in, or something like that. But
I forgot about that. It's so bad. I blocked it out. Like they didn't even show the Water Guards. They just showed like a fucking like snake Dorne there. Wow. What garbage.
The city of Dorne. Yes.
All right, let's go to the third thing we have here is not a question. It's a comment regarding to our conversation in the after show episode 2 about Davos. This is from a Mr. Hope I'm not butchering the guy's name. Crispus Laughing, and he says, with regards to Davos surviving the Blackwater, I have always seen Davos as the type of dude who never acknowledges how good he is at various things because of his incredibly humble upbringing. He always attributing things to the luck and the gods, but most of the time these are things that Davos himself has seen fit to execute or plan ahead for. I think this is George R. R. Martin giving credence to well-meaning religious folk who are seen as good-natured but ignorant, the opposite of those who are organized and power-hungry religious people. The surviving of the Blackwater is an example. We are told that Davos, because of his experience, chooses to dress himself in very light armor and half a helm in case he needs to swim or float. After he is thrown from his ship, I think he was likely able to swim, perhaps even after the chapter ends. But it is also possible that a piece of wood from the ship was able to carry him into the tide of the rocks. Again, he calls it luck and the gods, but it was really just him looking out for himself. Very good comments, and it does make a lot of sense because Davos is a very humble guy, a very down-to-earth person. So, yeah, I can see that.
It's a very good, well thought out comment, and it makes sense. I mean, Davos, when he does his flashback, when we last see him in A Clash of Kings, he's heading towards the flaming pile of ships on Tyrion's chain. We next find him in A Clash of Kings. We next find him in A Storm of Swords on a rock, and he thinks back to what happened next. He goes underwater as deep as he can because he doesn't want to get fried by the fire, and he wants to get past all of the ships. So he swims as deep as he can, and then he feels something on his leg, and he hits the bottom of the river, and there's a cloud of dust, and he gets lost, and he doesn't know where he is, and he screams, and all of the water comes out of his mouth, and then the next thing you know, he's on his rock. So it could be that he just forgot, something happened in his brain where he blacked out and he didn't know what happened. And so he really did actually, recover and get to the surface and swim to the rock. It might also be that the thing that he touched his leg, was a piece of wood, and, he ended up floating up the whole time or something. Or maybe another dude was down there with him and rescued him.
Or maybe mermaids, whatever.
Or maybe mermaids, or but yeah, it's the easiest and most logical one is that he just forgot, like something happened in his head that clicked that said, oh no, religion did it or the gods did it or something, and that's the reason he's on that rock, is that he saved himself
because he thought ahead. And I do like that this guy says. It's probably George R. R. Martin giving credence to well-meaning religious folks who he sees as good-natured but are very ignorant. That does make a lot of sense. George R. R. Martin, when it comes to religion, is not that nice to it. And
No. In fact, his treatment of religion, as bad as his treatment of religion in Ice and Fire is, and it's not great. Every religion is pretty savage. His treatment is probably better than any of his other stories, in that he actually has good-natured religious folk. Brienne is religious, Catelyn is religious, Davos is religious, and they're good people. He hardly ever has that. So perhaps in his old age we've gotten slightly less anti-religion, but not that much. Yeah.
and now we're on the topic of the Blackwater. I don't know why they didn't do this, but the chain that you mentioned, Tyrion's chain, how he keeps the ships from escaping.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't just do that either, because it would have shown Tyrion as a ruthless fucking battle commander.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The book really, and this people forget this, that the wildfire was Cersei's idea in the book, and the chain was Tyrion's idea, and the fun beauty of the Battle of the Blackwater is that Tyrion and Cersei teaming up, and his father, Tywin, together, the three of them won the battle together through teamwork, even though they all hate each other. And so what I'm saying is Lannisters together are really powerful, which is why people like Varys and Littlefinger, divide them and turn them against each other, because make them fight each other, because actually the Lannisters, when they work together, they're pretty unstoppable. And but I mean, in the show, they kind of made the wildfire all Tyrion's doing. And so Tyrion single-handedly saves the city. Cersei had nothing to do with it. Um, when in fact, in the book, it's a little different. Team effort. Woo!
Okay, so now let's get on to the trailer. And the trailer had some interesting things, but I've noticed that Sam and Bran do not appear, which kind of annoys me because Sam and Bran have actually gotten a lot better. I used to complain about how Sam and Bran were fucking boring, especially Sam and that stupid girlfriend of his. But oh god. But no, in season 6 they actually got very interesting. I enjoyed Sam's scenes because there were so little of them. Bran actually had some cool stuff going on, especially because he was doing some Weirwood things, giving us the flashbacks we've wanted all this time with the Tower of Joy. He didn't give us the flashback of Rhaegar and Lyanna at Winterfell, which I really wanted to see, but maybe we'll get that in season 7. Now, why do you think they left Sam and Bran out, but they put fucking Yara and... Wait, did we even get any Night's King footage? Right?
No, nothing.
What about Brienne? Was Brienne in that?
She was sitting in the back of a room. She was sitting in the back of like the north. Keep in mind, it's fan service. So what fans really like is what brings them to the show.
Dragons,
is the dragons, the action, and a bit of the nationalism. People watch the show, and this is a big thing about the show is they have their favorite team. And they're like, obviously most people are on Team Stark. But, people have the houses they like. And so if you watch the trailer, you'll see that it's very nationalistic focused. King in the North, we Lannisters are going to do this, da-da-da-da-da. Like, Sam doesn't have that. Bran doesn't have that. They're not action scenes. Bran, he was exposition last time.
Mm-hmm.
Sam... certainly doesn't have any action with him, and so that's why they're not in the trailer. I think it's purely, that reason.
The whole nationalistic thing would make more sense if they fucking fleshed out a couple more houses, like maybe given the Greyjoys more to do and made them more badass, so people would want to be fans of them, or maybe have given the Dornish House Martell better scenes back in season 5 when they appeared. And, giving us more with them to make them more badass instead of pathetic and kind of lame. That makes more sense, but it's just a shame that when it comes to houses of Game of Thrones, the only houses we can either pick from are Lannisters, Targaryen, and Stark, and not everybody is a lion, wolf, and a dragon. Some of us are, flowers, some of us are birds, some of us are a spear through a fucking sun, I guess.
Well, especially if you're a fan of the last 2 books, where the last 2 books are not really about, well, they're certainly not very about the Starks, and it's more about the Ironborn and the Dornish, and the Tyrells are dominating King's Landing now. So these other houses have come in, and but the show never really made that switch. So.
Some of us are flayed men on a cross, whatever.
So some of that House Frey fans die hard.
I don't think there's any House Frey fans in the audience.
No, I don't think anyone.
Another thing I want to discuss about the trailer, and this also came out in several pictures back when they released some of the pictures, is that Jaime has Joffrey's Widow's Wail. For those of you who don't remember, Joffrey has his own Valyrian steel sword. When Ned Stark's sword was broken down in season 4, it was made into 2 swords: Oathkeeper, which was given to Jaime, who later gives it to Brienne, and Widow's Wail, who was given to Joffrey as a gift by Tywin. Why does Jaime have Widow's Wail?
Well, I mean, I imagine that when Joffrey died, it would then pass on to Tommen, and then when Tommen dies, it would pass down to, I guess if Cersei's taking the crown, she could probably take the sword too, but she has no use for a sword. She's not a trained knight, so Jaime is the only one left that we know about. I mean, technically, like, Casterly Rock and Lannisport should be filled with Lannisters, but we don't hear about any of them, so I imagine Jaime would say, hey, free sword, Valyrian steel, why not? Makes sense to me.
Well, Widow's Wail is I don't. If you go to the first episode of season 4, when we're seeing the swords being made, Widow's Wail is not as long as Oathkeeper. In the books, if I remember correctly, I think Widow's Wail is a long sword. They're both long swords, but
it's made for a boy. Yeah, it's a Joffrey Tommen sword. It's made for a boy. Yeah. But let's make the argument. Jaime is with his left hand. He doesn't have as much strength or control. Perhaps a shorter, smaller sword is better for that.
I find it so funny how I just would love it if Joffrey was buried with it and Jaime just doesn't give a fuck, because he doesn't give a fuck. Jaime, because he I don't even think he mentions Joffrey that much in the show, or even I don't even remember him mentioning Joffrey that much in the books. Like, he's not even a father to them, is he? Like, he doesn't care.
I mean, okay, do you really want to know why they have to give him Widow's Wail? It's because they've established that, when fighting White Walkers, Valyrian steel causes them to shatter. So and they've only introduced a few of these swords in the show. I mean, there's hundreds in the book, but they've only introduced, I think actually in the inside the episode they only said like there was a dozen or something in the kingdom. We know that there's between 100 and 200 Valyrian steel swords in Westeros, and countless daggers. But we have no idea what's going on in Essos. Essos, there could be, I don't know, piles of them. But there's clearly, for some reason, not enough for the Lannisters to ever be able to buy one, which doesn't seem very logical, but whatever. Well, I mean, this is not logic that's not in the book. See, I'm being fair.
Well, I do love how, like, I would love it if like, Jaime needs, like... Well, I can't think of a good reason why he would take Widow's Wail. I guess maybe like kind of like a symbol. But I would love it if like Joffrey was buried with it and he just fucking grave robs the shit out of Joffrey, because he doesn't care about Joffrey. He doesn't give a fuck. I love Jaime.
No, he doesn't.
Jesus Christ, he's such a savage.
No, he does not. He does not care about Joffrey at all. Not one bit. But I don't think anyone would be dumb enough to bury a Valyrian steel sword with anyone, though. So I mean, did they even put it on top of Joffrey's body? Like, was it? See,
yeah,
I'm trying to remember
on the funeral scene. Yeah, he has it with him.
Let me quickly bring up Joffrey funeral, and then no, you're totally right. It's there. Yeah, they must have. I guess they would take it from him.
Another thing, speaking of Valyrian steel swords and daggers, another thing we've also seen is that the Entertainment Weekly cover, Arya has the Valyrian steel dagger used in Bran Stark's assassination attempt. What the fuck is up with that? How did she get that? Whatever happened to that dagger? I don't remember what happened to that dagger.
Well, in the show, I don't know if we see it after Ned is arrested. So Littlefinger uses the dagger, puts it up to Ned's throat, and says, I told you not to trust me, that kind of thing. I don't know if we see it after that in the show. In the book, Littlefinger wears it quite brazenly, and Tyrion keeps seeing it and saying, wow, what a pompous asshole. He's just wearing that thing, and he knows that I know what it means. And then we never see it after that. Some people think that Littlefinger brought the dagger with him to the Fingers and that he's eating fruit with it in front of Sansa, but we actually have no evidence that it's the same dagger. It could be, but it just, the Sansa chapter just says, oh, he has a dagger and he's eating the orange with a dagger.
The only way Arya could have gotten her hands on that dagger is one of two ways. If we have to follow the dagger, then, because when Littlefinger does the whole thing in the show, I did warn you not to trust me. He doesn't use the same dagger, the bone hilt one, the cat's paw one. He doesn't use that one to betray Ned with. We don't know who has it. I think Catelyn takes it with her, or either Ned has it with him, right? So one of two people have it. Either Baelish or Walder Frey. Because Baelish would have it if Ned had it on him. Which I think Ned had it with him. So if Arya has that, then she's probably going to take it from Baelish. Or Walder Frey has it because if Catelyn had the dagger after she went to King's Landing, and, she would have had it with her or on her or in her possession when she was betrayed at the Twins with Robb.
You're right. Okay. In the show, Littlefinger doesn't put it up to Ned's throat. That's only a book thing.
Mm-hmm.
In the show, it's a different dagger, it seems. Yeah, it's a totally different dagger in the show.
What I would do is... I know people hate it when I do that, when I try to rewrite the show, but what I would do is I would have Littlefinger constantly have that dagger on, like every once in a while we'll see him like using it to cut fruit or whatever, and it would kind of give the audience the impression that he was behind the assassination attempt, even though we're meant to think in the first season that it was Cersei and Jaime.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to track the show dagger. So
you're not gonna track it. They did a shitty job with it.
They did. But how about this? So Ned's bones, okay? Ned's bones get sent to Catelyn
in season 2.
Maybe they're like, why don't we pack up his shit too? Like clear out his desk. And maybe they packed up his dagger and sent it to Cat, and then Cat sent it on to Winterfell. Now, obviously in the book, Ned's bones never arrive, and it's a big mystery of where Ned's bones are. But do Ned's bones make it to Winterfell in the show? And maybe all of Ned's like shit like comes along too.
See, once again, I know a lot of people get on our case for criticizing the show. We like the show. We find it entertaining. It's just that we want certain things to be kind of explained, so we're not left wondering, hey, what happened to this? Or what happened to that? It's kind of like
right.
like a Chekhov's gun kind of thing,
I mean, on the other hand, the problem with it is we've been fooled before with their prop department reusing props. We all know about the necklace, like Sansa's necklace, where later Cersei says, oh, only 2 of these necklaces exist in the world, mine and Myrcella's, and they sent this back to me as this threat. And then Sansa was wearing one of those necklaces, before, and all the fans got, into conspiracy theories because the prop department had these Lannister necklaces lying around and decided to reuse them and thought that no one would notice, thought no one would notice, but obviously we're going to notice.
Well, yeah, of course people are going to notice that shit. And it's funny you say that, because the prop department, when it comes to, all these weapons and stuff, the weapons actually look fantastic. Like Oberyn's spear, if you actually look at it, has like a snake on it. The weapons are beautifully done, but everybody makes mistakes.
Right. So I mean, when they suited Arya up, and someone in the prop department like could have just grabbed that dagger and said, "Oh, this dagger will look cool on Arya," and she just has it. I mean, that's completely possible, because we know that. I mean, so we might be talking about and analyzing something that is just.
Do you really think they did that? Like, because that dagger, I have that dagger. I have that dagger right here. I have the cat's paw blade. I have it with me.
Yeah.
Do you really think they would make that big of a mistake?
I mean, the necklace thing was a huge mistake. Or Tyrion telling Theon that he was mean to him at Winterfell. Like, that is enormous mistake.
Those are minor compared to like the fucking dagger used and sold as a replica to people. I mean, like the necklace Sansa has, that's very minor in my opinion. I gotta defend him on that.
Okay.
So there's also another thing I wanted to talk to you about, which a lot of people didn't really hear, which is how the AT&T CEO, which is going to buy Time Warner, which I'm assuming owns HBO, something like that. He's gonna own HBO. He wants to make Game of Thrones 20 minutes each. Every episode, 20 minutes.
That's horrible idea.
And he wants to do it for mobile viewing, which I understand because things nowadays are moving towards that. I read an article somewhere that more people have phones than computers, which
Oof.
makes sense, especially in places like Japan and China where cell phones are like the major thing. And that completely makes sense. I don't watch stuff on my phone, but I do watch a lot of stuff on my tablet. By the way, House of Cards season 5. Woo! I'm watching that on my tablet when I like to lay down. But this idea. Let me
Okay.
just give you my thoughts. This idea is great, but shitty at the same time, and I'll tell you why. The reason I think would be great is because 20 minutes, okay, not 20 minutes, like 22, 23 minutes, fine. 22, 23 minutes is great for a comedy show like The Big Bang Theory or even Friends. But for an epic like Game of Thrones, it could suck dick. However, would you rather have 10 1-hour episodes or maybe 24, which is usually the standard, 22, 24, 20-minute episodes?
I'd rather have the 1 hour episodes. Yeah.
Really? Because with 20 minutes, we can, with 1 hour, for some reason, for the whole for a show, for an epic like Game of Thrones, you would think they would cut out as much filler as fucking possible, but they always add filler in there. Like, I don't give a fuck about Sam and Gilly fucking each other. I don't care about that. Yet they add that in there like it's something that we need to have. Right. By the way, also in the trailer we see Missandei and Grey Worm hooking up, which once again we don't need that, but whatever. If they want to add as much filler as they want, they could do that with 20 minutes. But at the same time, though, I feel as though 20 minutes, like 20 minutes, 20 minutes episodes, I don't know. Like, could you think if we had that many episodes for that little time, do you think we can include more storylines?
No. I think he has a fundamental lack of understanding of what viewers want, and he's thinking about more of what advertisers want. I mean, and we see this on the other end with YouTube. But there are two types of programs that people like watching. We like short little things that are non-immersive, where we can get our information and be done. We like YouTube videos that are like 2 minutes long, where I get the information and then I'm on to something else in my ADD mind. And then we have like immersive experiences where people will want to sit down and just become immersed in something. This is why like binge watching is huge. Like 1 hour isn't even enough. Like, I'm going to freaking have 6 episodes in a row. I'm going to be immersed into this world.
Well, let me stop you right there. You're right. The whole hour thing, I agree with you completely on that. But the one thing I will say that I do disagree is that having multiple 24, 20-minute episodes would also be advantageous to HBO because HBO doesn't utilize the full hour. Let's be honest. A lot of people got on my case for saying this, and I'm still going to fucking say it. Game of Thrones Season 6 was not a full hour. Most episodes were 45 fucking minutes. But Carmine, the HBO guide... I don't give a fuck what the HBO guide says. If you remove the intro, which I don't watch anymore, I watch for content. If you remove the intro, the outro, the behind-the-scenes footage, and the previously on Game of Thrones segments, it's really cut down from like 58 minutes to like 45 minutes.
And then if you cut out like
seriously.
Tyrion having awkward pauses with Grey Worm and Missandei.
Oh god. And if you cut out the Sam and Gilly scenes, we're really just watching 24 minutes of Cersei, Dany, and Jon Snow doing stuff. Like if you think about it. So
Arya sweeping the House of Black and White. Yeah. It's
what's with all that dead time? What the fuck, man? Like, you can have filler? Really?
Yeah, I mean, and people have argued with me. They're like, oh, it's essential for the atmosphere. Well, I mean, maybe you can get that. You can argue that with the House of Black and White. I still think they went too far. But the Tyrion dead time awkward stuff was just horrible, you know, or the awkward pauses at dinner with Sam and Randall Tarley. You know, they do it a lot. Or the awkward pauses at the wall where
Well, I will defend that. The awkward pause with Sam and his dad, that is we need that there to show, like, you know, that divide between them.
I grant that. The one at the wall though was different, where everyone's kind of awkwardly sitting there having dinner when they have a million things to talk about, you know. And I mean, I can get it I guess I can get it with Sam and how uncomfortable they are, but I mean, you are right that okay, they can handle it. They can handle, if it were really 45-minute episodes, they could handle it. But that's the other funny thing is when you start talking about comedies, like how long are comedies once you cut out all the ads and the intros and outros? Like, turns out comedies are only 20 minutes, you know? So when you say like, oh, the show is actually only 40, 45 minutes, yeah, that's how long it needs to be. But it can't be 20. Like, that's just not long enough to be immersed in something.
I don't know about you, but personally, I would like Game of Thrones 55 minutes of straight content, removing all that other stuff, because we could get more things done. We could get more things that were out of the show, like, you know, Duran Martell's master plan, Quentin Martell. We could get Victarion. We could get all that other cool stuff in there, and still keep a good a chunk of everything else. So. You're right. The AT&T CEO is dumb because he's just doing it for advertisers, which I understand. But at the same time, though, I can't help but wonder where the show would be if it was given, if it was on Fox. Well, I can understand it would be in the shithole. But if Game of Thrones was maybe on Netflix would give it, you know, an actual hour, and they would give you 13 episodes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Netflix and HBO do things way fucking differently. If I had to pick somewhere for Game of Thrones to end up, I would want it to be a Netflix. But at the same time, though, Netflix, could they find success with Game of Thrones? I'm sure they could, but it might not do as well as they want, because Netflix judges things way fucking differently than everybody else. And I know they spent $288 million on 2 seasons of Marco Polo. They got the money. But do they have the money to do all this stuff and more?
I mean, it is really odd how, and they're hiring all these different directors and different producers, but it is really weird how you kind of know what HBO programming is going to be. You know,
quality stuff.
It's quality, but it's strange that it's also thematically similar, you know, and which is really odd considering how diverse everything is. Like, you know, it's going to be really sexually explicit and really violent and have really top-notch actors, and, you know, it's going to be very immersive. Well, you know, Netflix, you get this whole variety of stuff.
I will say this, though. There is one fault HBO does have to its programming. And I've seen this with multiple shows. A lot of people can back me up on this. Most notably True Blood, which I used to love, is that the one fault HBO does have is that no matter how much money they can throw at something, they can't keep... They can have great quality, but sometimes, over time, it starts to decay. I mean, Game of Thrones Seasons 1, 2, and 3, epic. Absolutely fantastic. But over time, as it gone on, Season 4, it was alright, but not as great as Season 3 and 1. Season 5, it was alright, not as great. Season 6, okay, I'm starting to see some signs of fatigue here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's the moving off of book, but, you know, that doesn't... I've been watching The Leftovers, and The Leftovers is... it's just as good after they...
Oh my god. You and The Leftovers. Preston does not shut up about The Leftovers, so just so you guys know.
I mean, you guys should all fucking watch The Leftovers. It's so fucking good. It's so fucking good.
I want to watch it. I have a whole video about why I don't like The Leftovers. I don't like shows where they leave it off, like they never explain anything, because, like, where is 2% of humanity is gone from the world, right?
Yeah.
What happened to those people? Did they explain it?
Not yet. They might explain it in the last episode. Probably not.
Probably not.
But you eventually get to the point where you realize, I mean, the metaphor of the show is why they're gone isn't important. What's important are the people that have been left behind. But because the people disappear, so it's a metaphor for death. And so, and obviously, like, a lot of stuff happens, like, you know, cults pop up and people are distraught because their loved ones are gone. Well, that's the fucking real world. Religions have popped up and people are distraught that their loved ones are gone. And, you know, people do really stupid things and extreme things and fuck up relationships. And in the end, you realize that, oh, what's fucking important are the relationships. Like, and so by the end, you don't care that there's not an explanation, because you're getting to the point where the relationships are more important.
Fuck that. I care about the explanation. I feel like where those people went is more interesting than what's going on with Jennifer Aniston's husband, who's like one of the main characters, I'm assuming.
He's the main character.
Oh,
He's
Jesus.
yeah, he's pretty fucking awesome actually.
Well, speaking of other shows, there is there's really one cool fan film that came out recently, and it's called The Wild Wolf. It's a Game of Thrones prequel. Check it out on YouTube, The Wild Wolf. It's about Ned Stark's older brother Brandon, going down to River Run, meeting up with Catelyn, who he was supposed to marry, and of course Peter Baelish challenges him for her hand in marriage instead. So it's an actually pretty cool fan film, and for what it is, they don't have a high budget and all that. For what it is, it's actually not bad. Preston, you saw a little bit of it. What did you think?
I did. No, it's probably the best put together fan film I've seen. I mean I guess there's been some really high budget like Star Trek ones as well, but no, they did a really good job with the set
And
and
the
their
research?
costumes and their yeah, the research is pretty good. I mean, obviously when I'm a nitpicking asshole, but like yeah, but no, they did a really good job with their research as well.
Well, my one
It's
complaint is that Peter Baelish did not win. But spoiler, by the way.
No, it's really well put together.
Well, we just wanted to give them a little shout out because it is pretty cool. I would like to see. This is where we need those 20 minutes from that AT&T CEO. This is where we need it because the whole fan film is around 16 minutes, but I liked it. It was as long as it needed to be. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too short. And I hope they make more anthology because I really like anthology stuff. I love Black Mirror. I really like when it comes to certain things like this anthology because certain stories aren't really long enough for 10 1-hour episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would love to see, maybe a backstory of I don't know, maybe Tywin during the House Rain rebellion thing, stuff like that. So I hope these guys do have some success. Definitely check them out so we can get more stuff, and hopefully if they do find that success, we get more. But there is one topic I wanted to talk about that made news a while ago, and that is Netflix once again trying to challenge Game of Thrones in their own way. There is no way Netflix can touch the dark medieval fantasy spot that Throne has in the #1 place, but they can come close enough to make people think twice. In the past, there have been contenders. For example, I remember right before the first season of Thrones came out, there was this thing on Showtime called Camelot. Did you ever see it?
No, I never did.
I gotta watch Camelot. Downloaded it ages ago. I haven't seen it yet. Camelot was supposed to challenge it. Sucked. Marco Polo was supposed to try and challenge it. Try to get up there. It got canceled. So Netflix is coming out with The Witcher. Have you ever heard of The Witcher? You've never heard of The Witcher? Really?
No.
Dude. Once again, The Witcher is based. The Witcher has a series of video games and books. It's based off I don't want to fuck this up. I think Polish mythology, and there's a lot of monsters in there. A Witcher is basically a monster hunter who goes out and he goes to your village. If you have a problem with some monster in the woods, you tell him about it. He goes, all right, I'll go take care of it, and then you pay him, and then he goes away. That's basically it. But the whole thing is rooted in Polish mythology. It's really fantastic. The Witcher 3 is a video game. Absolutely great. I would recommend it to you, but you have a relationship with video games.
Yeah, I can't play video games because I'll never do anything else. Everyone's been talking a while about the Kingkiller Chronicles, and that's supposed to be a show. So maybe if that comes around along, it
That
might
depends.
actually be as
Where is
big
it
as
gonna
Game of
land?
Thrones.
Is it going to land on MTV like the Shannara Chronicles? If so, fuck that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true.
But where's it going to land? Fox, CW, AMC?
I don't know if it's been determined yet. I don't know.
The only other show I will say that can actually even not come close to Thrones, but is a nice little show to binge watch because the production value is actually top notch, is the Vikings from History Channel.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk about Vikings. Rome was pretty good. In fact, I mean, it has a lot of the. I mean, you'll notice a lot of the actors from Game of Thrones in it, including Mance Rayder. But the The production is very similar. The tone, the violence, the gratuitous sex. There's probably more gratuitous sex in Rome.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it's done very well. But it only went 2 seasons. I think it didn't have enough ratings to justify its budget. Its budget was enormous, so it only made 2 seasons.
Same thing with Marco Polo. Marco Polo. Have you seen that Marco Polo yet?
No, no.
Oh, dude, something I will say Netflix has been doing. We're getting way the fuck off topic, but something Netflix has been doing lately is they're experimenting. They're going places. I do like how we are exploring diverse places. Because there's always gonna be like a series about medieval times in England or Roman era stuff in Italy. But the reason I like Marco Polo is because there's not a lot of like made for Western audiences shows that take place back during that era in the East when it comes to Genghis Khan or his grandson Kublai. That's why I like Marco Polo so much. But you'll notice something about Marco Polo is that the show's title character Marco is fucking boring. Holy shit, bro. He is the most boring. He's like Jon Snow. Jon Snow is supposed to be like the title character. No. Boring as shit. His supporting characters of Kublai and everybody else around his court is much better. I don't know why that is. But Netflix has been doing this with a lot of its main characters too, like Orange is the New Black, which I like. The main character is supposed to be. Have you seen that one?
I've never seen Orange is the New Black. No.
God, Jesus. I'll watch The Leftovers if you watch Orange is the New Black. The main character is supposed to be this white girl, pretty blonde white girl named Piper. She's preppy, and then as the show continues, it focuses on the people around her in the jail. So. I mean, if anybody can challenge Game of Thrones on HBO's Game of Thrones, it can be Netflix, it can be maybe Showtime, because they had something recently with Black Sails, which is a pirate thing, and they also had Spartacus, another Roman thing. So, right now, the one contender who can really challenge Game of Thrones, not dethrone it, but get up there, is The Witcher. The Witcher has some fucking potential, and I hope they utilize the shit out of that. Because that mythology, there's more blood, there's more sex, there's more monsters than Game of Thrones ever will have.
Yeah. I mean, it's really weird because, I mean, people complain about studios not putting enough minorities in series and everything. It's partially the producer's faults and the studio's faults for only having things be Eurocentric and focused on white people. But it's also the fact that viewers are racist as well, and they like watching.
Stop.
They like watching white people like watching white people. Males like watching males.
Stop it! You get out of here.
Well, I mean, I lived in China and Japan for a while when I was younger, and they were very interested in their past, and so just as a white kid in America might draw pictures of knights in his notebook, a kid from Japan is going to be drawing pictures of some samurais in his. People are very ethnocentric no matter where they go, and so it's Marco Polo. I mean, if it's successful. That's great, but I can imagine somebody like turning it on and saying, "Oh, geez, this is all about China. I'm not interested in China. I know about European history. I know about I want to see knights. Yeah. So your warning was for nothing. I'm not a racist,
dude. It's YouTube. Like if you say anything about race and your next words are not, they're pretty awesome, then people are gonna fucking try to sink you. That's just how it is. Fucking assholes.
Yeah. And Eskimos. No, I love Eskimos. Damn it.
Okay, so Preston, I wanted to talk to you about Sansa Stark and what I would call the Sansa Problem, the Sansa Dilemma, the Sansa Conundrum.
Yes.
And that is making Sansa Stark the main character of the North in Season 6 and a driving force behind the Retaking Winterfell story arc.
Okay.
And this would mean that Jon Snow would have to stay dead, so sorry to Jon fans.
I mean, God, wouldn't that be awesome if Jon stayed dead? I mean,
We have a habit of shitting on Jon Snow, shameless self-promotion plug here, but on my Patreon, we have like exclusive clips where me and Preston just shit on Jon. Like I looked this over. We have a clip of us discussing whether Jon Snow is a bad fighter. We have a clip of us discussing whether he's a competent Lord Commander. We have a clip of us discussing whether or not Booker Show Jon is better. Like, we just really shit on him a lot. I feel bad, but
yeah, because he's everybody. I mean, I guess I shit on him because he's most people's like go-to hero guy because he's so boring. And we talked about the bathroom guy theory, right?
yeah, where Jon Snow is the bathroom symbol. Go through that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, everyone relates to the bathroom symbol because he's the most simple, basic, boring version of what a man is or what a woman is. You can identify with it. So protagonists like are they try to make them as boring as possible so everyone will relate to them. Like Neo from the Matrix, like he is nothing. Therefore all people watching can go, oh, that's me.
Jesus Christ, yeah. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, Neo from the Matrix, that makes more sense. But I bring this up because for as long as like she's been on the show, Sansa has never really had that moment of awesomeness that the other characters have. Like she's never had that moment like the other Starks have, where the audience sits down and says, "That was cool." Like I've been binge watching seasons 1 through 6 recently, and I've noticed this. I mean, it makes me sound like a huge social justice warrior douche, but it's true. She's always being saved by all these male characters like the Hound, Peter Baelish, and even Theon for that matter. And she goes through so much abuse and torture, and it all ends up being for nothing. But, like, I spoke to a buddy of mine, and he kind of countered with, some people just suffer because that's just how it is sometimes. But with Sansa, it could have had a huge payoff for this season, and it led me to, like, rewriting all of her, like, storyline for season 6.
I mean, it is tough because George R. R. Martin set her up that way to not be the strong female character. And then kind of later on, maybe he changed his mind. But, from the beginning, she is the opposite of Arya, right? Like Arya is the non-traditional female, strong, gender-bending role, while Sansa is the traditional one. And, so you're already set, like, he's already made her this archetype of not being the strong female character. And so, making that turn and turning her into the strong female character it's a tough turnaround, So
well, she can still retain, the abuse she goes through. She can still retain trying to be a strong female character, but I remedy that with giving her a special skill. Like in my version, her character would be given like a special trait. Now you can back me up on this for those who haven't read the books, but it's strongly hinted that most of the Stark children, other than Bran, have warging abilities. In the show, only Bran and maybe Rickon seem to have it. Like, I remember in season 1 where Rickon and Bran are in the crypts, and, Bran's like, "Don't worry, father will be back," and Rickon's like, "No, he won't." So, I guess that's a hint that Rickon may have some, visions, maybe green dreams.
Right. I mean, in the book, all the Stark children have warging abilities except for maybe Sansa because they killed her wolf. All the rest of them do. John Bran. Well, we don't know about Robb, but because Robb dies, but definitely.
Whoa! Spoiler
Bran,
alert!
definitely.
Robb dies. Spoiler.
But definitely Rickon, definitely Bran, definitely Arya, definitely Jon. Sansa is a different question. There's some debate whether or not
you think
she has
like some kind
ability.
of charm psychic powers where she can
I
use
do.
attract on her foe. It's super effective. Go into that a little.
I mean, I think there's a reason why people keep falling for Sansa and wanting to save her, and more than her just being an attractive 13 or 14-year-old girl. Because I mean, the Hound really falls for her, and then Tyrion falls for her, and Littlefinger falls for her, and then Sweet Robin falls for her, and it's just a lot of people over and over that keep falling for her that Sansa, can use and control if she wants. And,
well, I mean, that's not really a superpower. The power of being a good-looking person, that's not really a superpower.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it goes beyond.
Yeah.
That. I mean, there's lots of good-looking people in A Song of Ice and Fire, but what the Hound does is is pretty crazy. I mean, he was scared of fire, left the battlefield, meaning, if he's caught, he could be executed. And instead he decides to go upstairs to Sansa's room. And then rather than, killing her or raping her, he, pulls this weird crying scene and then takes off. And so, maybe Sansa had some sort of mental power, mental control over. Maybe the Hound was her wolf for a second. Or why does
that's pretty cool.
Or why does Sweet Robin connect with Sansa?
Well, okay, Sweet Robin is a young kid. You when we were all like that age of Sweet Robin, we always fell in love with like the pretty older woman. And as for Littlefinger, he already explained it. He loves Sansa because she reminds him of Catelyn.
Yeah, I mean, the proxy for Cat. But, Sweet Robin hated Sansa when he first met her. And then all of a sudden, I mean, I guess because his mom's not around. Certain things are understandable, but, it's a lot of things in a row. And the Tyrion thing, again, Tyrion makes sense as well because Tyrion is a sucker for the abused poor girl.
Yeah.
That's his type, Four girls in a row. So 4 girls in a row is Tysha, Shay, Sansa, Penny, But
like I was saying, that annoys me about her though, that she has nothing. Her character has no special power, no special skill. Like, if you think about it, like the other Stark kids have their own thing. Like Bran and his warging, Arya has her face changing thing, and Jon Snow's plot armor. Sansa has nothing to her. Like, if I were to rewrite her character, I'd only add one thing: power of perception. That she is someone who is a bit more inquisitive and has attention to detail, kind of like Robert Downey Jr.'s in Sherlock Holmes, where the guy walks into a crime scene and automatically knows who the killer is. Now, a lot of people may not think that, the power of perception, the power of paying attention, is a useful power at all, but it really is. For 5 seasons, Sansa has come across many characters, and when it's time for her to shine in season 6, she can take everything she's learned from those people and utilizes it to take back her home. Kind of like, give you a great example. In season 2, episode 9, when she's conversing with Cersei's basically telling her, the best power a woman has is between her legs. Now, hold on a minute, I'm not saying, before everybody gets outraged, I'm not saying Sansa should throw herself at every male character she encounters to control them, but just like you said with the Hound, she is a very pretty girl, and she is Lady of Winterfell, by blood. So, she can use her charm. I mean, I remember one time I bought a drink for a girl at a bar because she just winked at me, Some ladies have that power of charm where they could just look at you and destroy your heart. So, and clearly Sansa has this. And she, once again, Lady of Winterfell, she could definitely use that to her advantage. Not only that, but she's encountered so many characters throughout her time in King's Landing. If Joffrey, she could have learned all the, a lot of things from these characters. She could have learned brutality from Joffrey, honor from Ned, the power of women from Cersei, kindness from Margaery, and strategy and manipulation from Peter Baelish. She could take all these things she's learned and utilizes it in season 6. With Jon now dead, she's on her own. She's always had that one person to help her out, but now she's truly on her own, and she has to use everything she's learned to take back her home. And by the end of season 6, she manages to do it. Now, granted, if Jon stayed dead, we won't have him for the Battle of Bastards. Fine. But this would require the Blackfish to stay alive. It would require Brienne to do more stuff. And it would require even Tormund or maybe another character to come in and do more as well. But I think it would be much better if season 6, Jon stayed dead, and we had Sansa come into her own.
Yeah, I mean, you could even if you wanted to bring Jon back, you could just have him be dead longer. You could have him get preserved in the ice or something, have his soul exist in Ghost for a while, have him be dead a whole season. That would, it would shock people a little more when he came back, but then it would allow Sansa to shine, which is what she wanted, what we needed. I mean, the real problem is we all thought at the end of season 4 that we were going to get this intelligent Sansa, this dark Sansa, this manipulative Sansa. She's wearing that raven outfit, and she's got that special necklace on, and then we were expecting, oh, she's going to be just like Littlefinger, and then no, she wasn't that at all.
Here's the problem where the Sansa conundrum comes from. The problem with Sansa is not her character, but the writers give her nothing good to do, and they always pair her up with characters who are larger than life. For example, you pair her up with Joffrey. Joffrey's whole character is being an asshole. That's his thing.
Right.
You can't pair Joffrey up with Sansa and not expect his personality to come out by abusing her and doing this. And then you pair her up with Ramsay. Once again, Ramsay is a larger-than-life character who gets his kicks off, and his character traits are being, once again, an asshole. So you're pairing her up with this guy, and you're expecting her not to be abused? I mean, unless you're trying to turn Ramsay's character around and make him a kind person, which is not going to happen, Sansa can't really shine and can't really come into her own. Only certain characters who are paired with others have this ability to shine on their own, like Bran, Tyrion, and arguably even, I don't know, maybe Jorah Mormont, or I don't know, the Hound, maybe. You have certain characters that are flexible enough to where they, their characters can shine. But Sansa, they just keep pairing her up with the wrong people. It's like pairing up Sansa with Khal Drogo. How well do you think that's going to go down? But what I would have Sansa do for all of Season 6 is basically use her charm, strategize, manipulate people and supporters to come to her side and ultimately remove the Boltons. Now, I haven't really finished the script of this and how I would rewrite all of her stuff in Season 6, but basically it would end with them taking Winterfell and not killing Ramsay by dogs, but by taking Ramsay, sitting him down, tying him, wrapping him around in every single Bolton banner that was in Winterfell, and kind of burying him alive. Burying him, not having the dogs rip him apart, because, that... I don't know, I feel like burying him alive would bury the House Bolton legacy. And I would spend all of the first episode of Season 1 with her, I would spend just tearing down the Dreadfort, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is the House Bolton castle. I would have her tear it down, raise it to the ground, make sure nothing grows on it again, as a callback to House Reign of Castamere, with Tywin's massacre of them. And I would have her, just ruling the North. Maybe Jon comes back, does his own thing, but I would have her be merciless, and in a sense make her the new Stoneheart. Did I say Season 1? I meant Season 7. First episode of Season 7, Sansa is merciless.
I mean, that would be interesting. I would have had her manipulate Sweet Robin, and that have that be part of, her intelligently manipulate Sweet Robin, convince him to move the army north rather than it just being a spontaneous decision.
But you can't really manipulate Sweet Robin in the show. In the books, you could, because she has more screen time with him in the books, if you will. But in the show, she doesn't have really that much screen time with him. She has more screen time with Baelish, so it would make more sense for her to manipulate Baelish, who in turn manipulates Sweet Robin.
Have her manipulate both, and then have her move her army north, and then have a season of have her have the snow fall, have her take the book Stannis plot, have her march towards Winterfell, try to rally the North to her.
Maybe meet up with a representative of the Iron Bank of Bravos.
Yeah, any of that. It would just something interesting for her to do.
But what do you think about that, though? Like making her the main character in the North?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, she'd be much more interesting than what we have right now. I mean, the problem is, Jon Snow, he is just boring, and there's no intrigue, there's nothing dark or manipulative or there's no shades of gray in what he's doing.
That's why I love Jaime over Jon. He's flawed.
Oh yeah, all the characters are flawed except for Davos and Jon and Brienne, apparently, and then you have them all together. So you have these unflawed characters just kind of going from point A to point B with no character conflict. Which it's the Phantom Menace, it's everybody gets along, so let's go from point A to point B to point C. You need a conflict, you need character interaction. You need something like that.
Well, that's why I would have Sansa be Stoneheart. In Season 7, she spends Episode 1 just tracking down any remnant of the Bolton forces and hangs them. It'd give her a great dynamic with the other Stark kids who are also forced to grow up once they meet each other. Once again, I don't want to sound like a social justice warrior, nor do I want to speak for the writers, but I've had discussion with people before about this topic. I mean, maybe the reason they couldn't give Sansa more to do or even make her the central character of the North is because they weren't too sure if Sansa's character could really hold it in terms of holding the audience's attention and in terms of entertainment value. When Jon is on screen, we're paying attention. Maybe Sansa wouldn't have the same effect.
I think the writers were scared to move that much off of the book plot. I mean, if you think about season 6, and I've said this a lot, season 6 is a repeat of season 5. It's the exact same plot again. There's trouble in Marine. We've got to fix the problem in Marine. There's a battle for the North. We got to have a battle for the North. Like, you know, Cersei is dealing with the Sparrows. Cersei is dealing with the Sparrows. Like, it's just a repeat. Arya is being trained by the House of the Undying. Arya is being trained by the House of the Undying. They were scared. They were scared to mix things up that much. And so to have a character be a side character and then be a bold, you know, leading character and go that far off book, you know, that it was too much for them. They're like, well, no, we want to keep Jon Snow the protagonist because that's where we think the book is going. So we don't want to go away from that. I mean, you know, if they really wanted surprises, you know, and if they really wanted to shock me, like episode 1 of season 7, kill Arya and Dany and Jon, and I'd be like, oh my God, like this show has this. I have no idea what to expect next, and then all of a sudden the show is about Davos and Brienne like fighting, you know, fighting Grey Worm and Missandei. Like I'd be like, what am I watching? This is incredible. Like it'd be so unexpected. But no, they're not going to do that. You know, to all of a sudden make Sansa the you know, the big important central figure. That's just too bold.
But she has
for
the
them.
potential though. Like she does. She really does. She has a potential. Like one thing. I think we've said this before, but one thing George R. R. Martin said about Lord of the Rings is that, you know, he enjoys Lord of the Rings, but he would enjoy it even more if he got to read how Aragorn makes his policy. You know, like what's Aragorn's stance on homosexuality and stuff like that. And I agree. I would love to see Sansa, you know, make some policy. Like, what's her stance on this, and this? You know,
Aragorn grew up in the woods, so yeah, he's pro.
You're killing my subscriber count now, Preston. Jesus.
Yeah, no, I mean those little subtle, you know, the dirty stuff, the nitty gritty. You know, that's you know what George R. R. Martin thinks about, what makes his stuff interesting, why we love it. The show, at least season 6, it became every other adventure story where the hero wins. All the heroes won, happy ending. You know, it was not really what we there was nothing unexpected.
So are you saying season 5 is where it went downhill? I mean, not season 5. Are you saying season 5 was the last good season and season 6 is where it went downhill?
Yeah, but I would say season 3 was the last good season. But I kind of understand it as well. Like, even if you're going with the book material, you know, the criticism that people give for A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons is that not very much happens, like relatively speaking. Like Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, Storm of Swords, boom, boom, boom. The plot is just churning. Major characters are dying. People are having limbs cut off. And then you have these 2 books that are mainly about introducing a whole slew of new characters.
The next phase.
Yeah, the next phase. And I admit that, yeah, the plot doesn't, like, characters aren't dying as much. I mean, big characters. Yes, Jon Snow dies, but is he really dead? But, you know, it's different. And so they didn't have that opportunity.
Well, to be fair, for A Feast for Crows, later on when I found out, I realized that someone told me Feast for Crows and Dance of Dragons happen at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So I can forgive it. I can understand it. As for why Feast for Crows was a little slow in some places. And they really should have taken the Feast for Crows storylines of Euron and the Martell stuff and incorporated for season 5. It would have spilled over into season 6, season 7, season 8, but they didn't want to do that. Which is why, to me, season 4 and a bit of season 5 felt like it dragged on a little.
Yeah. And if you really think about it, considering that A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons happened simultaneously, let's say you tried to break that up over 2 or 3 seasons, right? The trouble is Cersei is only getting to the point where the small council is meeting and the High Sparrow comes into power for the first third or half of her story. And so that's not very exciting. Or Jaime is wandering around the Riverlands, not doing anything yet. Jon Snow is counting the amount of food that he has at the wall. Like the action that's early is happening in the Dornish plot, in the Ironborn plot, and they just didn't want to go off into these new smaller characters. They wanted to keep the action with Jon and Tyrion and Dany, and they just couldn't with the book material because Tyrion's on a boat, like not doing anything. Jon is at the wall, not doing anything. Dany is ruling Meereen, not doing anything. So I understand that it was very tough. It was very tough material to adapt if you're going to go at the old characters. Because as I say, Feast for Crows, Dance with Dragons is about shifting to new characters. The action is with Brienne. The action is with the Dornish. The action is with the Ironborn. The characters you know and love are sitting around. Or as somebody said once to me concisely, A Feast for Crows is people you don't care about doing exciting things. Dance with Dragons is people you do care about doing nothing. And that's very tough to adapt because the show wanted to have it be about characters you love doing exciting things, and that's not what those books. That's not.
They were too afraid to introduce new characters late in the game, and center it on them. It's a shame too, and I know what really pissed you off about Sansa. Getting back to that a little is watching your review. You kind of got annoyed that she wasn't the Queen of the North. Yeah.
I mean, I like you was wanting her to do something. And have some sort of plot and have something be, I want it to be logical, but, if you're going to send everybody north, like she's the queen, but yeah, I wanted her character to come into her own. The thing we've been waiting for forever was Sansa, we've been waiting for Sansa to come into her own, as long as we've been waiting for Dany to land in Westeros. So it's just one of those things, like forever, where you're like, when are the White Walkers coming? When's the wall falling? When is Sansa going to become a player? Well, apparently never, as we head into season 7. So,
Well, I'll tell you this right now. The reason Sansa can't be the Queen of the North is one simple reason that you've overlooked.
Oh. What's that?
Emails. Sansa had a private email server, and we can't make her.
Oh, right.
All right, let's end.
The North was that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. All right, let's end it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, once again, be sure to check us out on iTunes and SoundCloud. And as always, leave your thoughts and questions down below, and we might discuss them in a future episode. If you would like any voicemail options, for us to hear your questions through voice clip, go to facebook.com/redteamreview and send me a message through there. I've already got a couple of yours already, but more is always good for future episodes. Preston, anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say before we end this?
No, just thanks for listening.
Also check out Preston Jacobs. I'll leave a link in the description below to his channel, and Preston finally has his Twitter handle down. Preston, what is it again?
Preston Jacobs at Sweet Robin 9000.
There you go, Sweet Robin 9000. Are you sure?
I'm sure.
I always take you to I always take you to task every single time. Is it Preston Sweet Robin? Let me just check real quick and see if you're right. Okay, no, you're right. I'm just. So follow Preston on Twitter to keep up to date with all the stuff he's doing. Also follow him on Facebook. I'll leave a link in the description below to all this stuff. Guys, once again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.